Happy Sunday, Tampa Bay. We're with you for another week here on the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show. Andrew Duncan with the Duncan Duo team, LPT Realty, dropping all the real estate knowledge today. And if you've been paying attention to politics or real estate, a lot of things happened this week that have an impact on what is going on in the real estate market. I want to start with just a few of the announcements that have come out of Washington to kind of prepare you for what is happening. So first and foremost, the federal government has opened back up again after a nearly 6-week shutdown, or actually a little bit over a 6-week shutdown. We're back in business. So, from a real estate perspective, we didn't see a whole lot of hangover from the shutdown. The only issue we were really seeing was FEMA and flood insurance. The VA and FHA programs were still running. They were just a little bit behind. It didn't cause too many hiccups for the real estate market. Where it did cause a hiccup is the military is a very large employer. There are a lot of buyers and sellers. There are a lot of owners. There are a lot of people, that are looking to buy that are furloughed or not working and can't get employment verifications and not getting income right now. So there were some hiccups from that standpoint, but from a regulatory place, the real estate market was moving along with the exception of flood insurance. So all that should kind of correct itself over the next few weeks and smooth out, of course, until they vote again. Hopefully we don't have a shutdown in January. It looks like they did a temporary extension to January. So the hope and expectation is that we should see, smoothing out of all the problems or delays, I guess you could say, with the shutdown. The second thing that got announced this week was the potential for a 50-year mortgage. And it caused quite the controversy on social media. And I want to explain it from a few different perspectives because I think there's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings out there. First and foremost, until it gets announced, in terms of the terms and the rates and things, we don't really know what it's going to look like. We don't know if the federal government's going to try and work something to where the 50-year mortgage is at the same rate as a 30-year mortgage somehow. If they do some sort of deal with the banks or offer some sort of incentives, because in reality, a longer term loan typically requires a higher rate. So if you had 30-year mortgages and then you changed it to 50 and the 50 at a higher rate, the payment difference is pretty negligible. It was like $100 a month. And so are there people that could make a difference for? Yes, but pretty nominal in the grand scheme of things that I think it would be a nothing burger. I don't think very many people would opt for a 50-year mortgage over $100 a month. However, if the rates were comparable between a 30 and a 50, you could see more like a $300 difference in payment. That is enough to move the needle for some people. And here's what I mean. When I saw the comparisons online, a lot of people were saying things like, well, hey, they're going to pay, hundreds of thousands of dollars more in interest over the life of the mortgage. Well, the last time I checked, I don't know a single person that had a mortgage for 30 years, okay, and paid it off over a 30-year period. I don't know a single one. Okay, I've never even seen it in my entire real estate career. One of two things happen. Either people refinance when rates drop or their income goes up and they want to pay off more, or they want to tap out cash and they change their rate. So then it's a new mortgage, right? Or they pay it off sooner than that or they sell it, okay? So this premise that over a 30-year period they're going to pay so much more in interest is kind of irrelevant. So the average person is staying in a home, 7 to 10 years. The average person is also refinancing every few years. So the 50-year mortgage, if it ends up being a comparable rate to a 30-year mortgage, could be impactful in that it could get more people in for a few-year period until they eventually end up refinancing into a lower rate or maybe a 30-year mortgage or maybe even a 50-year mortgage. The point is that it's comparable to what you're seeing builders do, which is buying the rate down for 2 or 3 years. It's in essence getting the payment cheaper for a few years so that you can get into a house, because that $300 may make the difference between that person being able to buy or not being able to buy. And of course, I could do a whole show, and I did this with my team this week when I teach my team Wealth Building Wednesdays, and this week's chat was about cutting expenses. I'm pretty sure most Americans could probably cut out $200 to $300 to be able to lower their expenses to be able to afford the 30-year mortgage. But that assumes people have financial discipline that I think we have learned most people do not have. So 50-year mortgage could be impactful. A lot of it is going to depend on what rolls out. We'll actually bring on Melissa Rodriguez from Citywide Home Mortgage, our mortgage partner, citywidetampa.com. We'll get some commentary from her in next week's show just to kind of see what shakes out and what happens on that front over the next week or so. The other thing that's come out is portable mortgages. Now, this shouldn't be a completely unknown concept for people that own real estate here, because our counties and our state allow people to take their property taxes and make them portable. What they do is they basically say, if you sell your home and then you go buy another and you pay a certain property tax at your existing property and you move to a higher price property, the assessment of the prior property that you owned at the lower tax rate, you keep that and you only pay the tax on the difference. So you don't get double dinged when you move on taxes. So portability exists for homestead properties here. So it's a similar concept, but not with property taxes. It's a concept with mortgages. Now, how they can get the banks to cooperate and how they can fund this and how it can work, I'm not sure. However, that is a concept that I think has a very strong runway. The 50-year mortgage, of course, could have some impact, but pretty minimal. The portability of an existing mortgage could have massive impact. And here's why. There are millions and millions of homeowners that are in homes that have 3% interest rates, and they're not going to move. Not because they don't want a new home, not because they don't want a newer, nicer, bigger, or smaller home, okay? But because they know they're going to go out and they're going to give up their 3% mortgage to go get a 6% mortgage. The difference between the interest rates is the inhibitor of them going, it's resisting the market. It's keeping consumers from transacting. It's keeping homes from going on the market and buyers from buying what they want to buy. And it is slowing down transaction count. So the federal government is investigating ways to be able to take your existing mortgage with you and it attaches to the new property and then somehow finance the difference at a more prevailing rate. Then you would get more of a blended rate. Then you would get something that would make some sense. Now, I'm sure there's going to have to be some sort of creative solutions with title, with appraisals, with how to do that. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but innovation doesn't happen without trying new things. Innovation doesn't happen without thinking outside the box. So there are some really outside the box things coming out of Washington for housing. And I think what it really boils down to is payments. People buy and sell real estate based on the payment schedule. Okay. They don't necessarily buy as much on price as you think. And the interest rate is what controls the payment. Well, Trump has done everything he can to try and move interest rates down, firing Fed governors, putting pressure on the Fed, all these things, and interest rates haven't moved to the extent that he would like. Now, we know that there is going to be a change in the Fed governorship next year and a strong likelihood that we would see some rate cuts by then. How fast and how much that can happen may not move the needle fast enough for President Trump to move the market like he would like. So, again, whether or not you believe this is capitalism or free market by the government getting involved in these things is a completely different conversation. My job here isn't to argue policy. My job is just to simply explain what's happening and how it can impact the real estate market. So, I'm not taking a stance pro or con. I think there's good and bad to all of these things. But we know that it's payment driven because even with low interest rates, when we saw insurance and taxes rise here, there was a lot of resistance to that. So we know our state is working on abolishing or massively reducing property taxes because they know and understand that the buyers and sellers of real estate in our market are very payment driven. The property taxes come out, they have to pay them, and there are a lot of consumers that don't enjoy having to pay for those, pay for that at a rate that maybe is disproportionate to the benefits that they get. So all of these things are lining up towards innovation and a surge in the real estate market. So whether or not they end up coming to fruition, the introduction of them, as well as the other things happening in real estate up north, some political things, a clean storm season. Look, we made it, right? Like, I mean, I think there's a couple weeks left of hurricane season, but our local meteorologists have said it's cooled off to the point where it doesn't appear we're going to have much impact. So I think we've got a clean hurricane season, which was a thing that we needed after last year's challenging year. So combining all those things, as well as the innovation being talked about in Washington, 26 and 27 are going to be much better real estate years. However, real estate is very, very slow moving. When I say I think 26 and 27 are going to be better real estate years, it's not happening overnight. Are we starting to see a little pickup in the number of leads? Yes. Are we starting to see a little pickup in the number of people coming to look at houses? Yes, a little pickup, okay? But our market is off, in some parts of Tampa Bay, 60+% in terms of number of transactions from peak. So that isn't happening overnight, okay? It's just not. And I think the political landscape right now and some of the things happening up north are going to move some people here, but it's going to be very slow moving. Okay. So I want to talk about that next because look, there was an election in New York. Mabry, who is a Democratic socialist, was elected in New York City. There are a lot of rumblings that people are going to leave New York. They're going to move down here. And while I think there's some validity to that, I want to talk about the timeline of that and the impact. Because, I mean, we even have clients saying like, oh, I want to raise my price because all these people are moving from New York. And, I want people to understand that if you pay attention to the stock market or crypto and you see these huge swings, right? The stock market rises several percentage points in a day, or a stock goes up 27% in a day. Real estate is not that. It is the slowest moving market in the world. Okay, let me repeat that. Real estate is the slowest moving market in the world. It took years for all the impact from the Great Recession to have impact on prices, okay? It took years for those prices to drop, not days, not hours, not weeks, okay? If you pay attention to stocks or crypto and you see the movement that they make when there's a policy decision or an announcement from the president or some sort of trend, real estate does not work like that. It is the most unique market in that it is very, very slow moving. People don't move overnight. They can't sell their house overnight. They don't just move overnight. You can't just click a button and make it happen. So I want to talk about that after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market. I teased this before the break about the real estate market and the impact on some of the political things happening in elections in other parts of the country. And I want to reiterate, the real estate market is the slowest moving market in the world, okay? It does not move like stocks and crypto. The prices and values of real estate do not swing multiple percentage points in a day. They might swing multiple percentage points over months or a year, okay? It is very slow moving. The geopolitical landscape, tariffs, swings in stock and crypto. Does it affect sentiment? Yes. Does it affect buyer activity? Yes. Does it kill deals? Yes. Okay. Does it massively move people or massively move the market quickly? No. Real estate isn't like a stock or crypto where you can click a button and purchase it. It is a long, drawn-out process. You're talking about selling your existing home. You're talking about uprooting your kids. You're talking about hiring movers, finding a new home. It is a very long process for these things to happen. We literally had clients this week say that they wanted to raise the price on their home because of all the New Yorkers that were going to move here because Mabry was elected. Well, first off, he's not even inaugurated yet. None of his policies have been attempted to be passed. There's been nothing has happened, okay? Like, does it cause some people to look at stuff down here? Yes. Will it cause a few random people to move pretty quickly that were probably already looking at moving anyway? Yes. But in terms of this huge swath of the population that's going to move from New York, even during COVID, it took months and years before we started to see that impact. It took a long amount of time. It takes a lot of pain for people to leave an area that they're used to living in. Will it move people? Yes. Is it going to massively or quickly move the needle on prices in Tampa Bay? No. Are we going to see a huge surge of population next week? No. Could we see some population growth in Tampa Bay because of this within the next year? Yes. That's how long it takes. People are going to want to see what he's going to do. They're going to want to see the impact on the community. I think everything that we've learned about politicians, they say a lot of things when they're campaigning, but they're not dictators. They, regardless of what your opinion is, they're not kings. They don't just get to do whatever they want. There are checks and balances, and New York is just like Washington, D.C. So whatever campaign promises that you think that he's going to pass may very well not pass, okay? There could be all kinds of challenges to that in their state constitution and their state legislature. So the point is like real estate is slow moving. So don't have this grandiose idea that prices are going to skyrocket. Do I think 26 and 27 will be better real estate years than 25? Yes. But is it so fast moving that's causing prices to skyrocket right now? Absolutely not. Not even close. Not even in unicorn fairy tale fantasy land is that happening. You are 100% seeing a slow moving market because that's what real estate is. So everyone out there comparing what you see with, stocks, the rise and fall of stocks, the mass rise and fall of cryptocurrency. So, some coins swing 5 to 10% in a day. Man, real estate does not move like that. It is, again, the slowest moving market in the world. So because you're uprooting your family, you have to coordinate so many things. There are companies that would love to make the sale of real estate just a click of a button, like you're buying on Amazon Prime. And there are companies trying to change it, but it isn't there yet and isn't going to be there anytime soon. So these things, while they are bullish for real estate, they're very bullish over a long period of time. Could we see some impact after 6 months or a year? Yes. But the idea that a seller should raise their price today because of what might happen is insane. It's dumb. You're going to cause your property not to sell. You're basically going to say, I'm going to raise my price for what might happen in the future. It's terrible thinking. And again, the sellers that think that are simply going to not transact. So in other news, for sale by owners reach an all-time low. More sellers rely on agents today than they ever have. And I think it is extremely crucial. We are not in a market where you should be going it alone. The exposure, the negotiation experience, the screening of buyers, the qualifying of buyers, the steps, the things that an agent does to help a seller are so much more important in a challenged market. In a hot market, you see FSBOs, crank up. We get to 27 or 28 and the economy keeps, heading in a better direction. We could see FSBOs crank back up again. But right now, more sellers rely on agents than they ever have, and they should continue to do that. If you're a seller right now, even if you have great sales and real estate experience and you're going it alone, you do not realize how fickle the average consumer is when you don't pick up the phone because you're at your day job, when you don't know the answer to a particular question that they want to know, when you don't know how to qualify them to make sure you're not letting someone get into your house that is casing it to rob it, okay? You don't know how to do these things. You've not been trained like a real estate agent has. And as much as you might think that you can learn it, it would be like somebody learning how to do your job overnight because they stayed at a Holiday Inn, okay? It just doesn't work like that. That is why the market is showing us that more sellers rely on agents than they ever have. And I also think the other caveat to that, and I kind of touched on this, is that there are more homes getting cased and robbed and people getting assaulted than there ever have been. And real estate agents have different services and things they can use to screen prospective buyers and make sure either they're qualified or that they're not some, career criminal. As a homeowner, you don't have the ability to do that. You're letting people into your home that you don't have the ability to screen. You don't have the ability to use the services that we pay for. You could be letting some, career criminal into your house that's casing it or that intends to rob you or assault you or some other heinous act. So it is a complex transaction. And I think, again, that's why the market is telling us that fewer and fewer people are doing it. And it's also taking longer and longer to sell. I mean, home today takes 70 plus days to sell. Back in the boom, it took a week. So of course you could handle a FSBO for a week or two. You could take some time off. You could make some commitment to it, but it's a longer term process today. You need somebody that's willing to grind. And I think you need somebody experienced that's done a lot of sales, that's got a brand behind him. I see so many brand new agents getting listings today, or agents that haven't done a lot of listings, that don't have the right training and just failing their clients. So if you're a home seller, I would strongly encourage you're hiring not just a brokerage, but a team and an agent that what they focus on is home sellers, and they've got a track record that can back them up, and reviews and all those things. So hiring an agent to sell your home it's never been more challenging. It's never been more important to pick somebody that can get you exposure. So we're going to continue this conversation, but I want to make sure if you're thinking about selling your home, you hit up DuncanDuo.com. Again, that's DuncanDuo.com. I'm going to talk after the break about our cash offer program. We're looking to buy more homes, and I want to talk through some things that separate and differentiate us after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market. If you're thinking about selling your home, DuncanDuo.com. Get a free home value estimate or get an instant cash offer at DuncanDuo.com. So I want to talk to the group of people out there that would consider a cash offer, because I think that there are a lot of home sellers that want top dollar, that want to go retail, that money is more important than convenience. And then you have a segment of the population. If money is more important than convenience, the cash offer probably isn't going to be the right path for you, because you're going to get more money typically in a retail transaction. If the cash offer is the path that you want to go, whether that's selling to our fund or someone else, you can certainly, look around. Convenience is the important thing. You've got a home that you inherited that needs a lot of work, and you don't want to do work. You've got a home that maybe can't get financed. You want to move fast. Your house has been on the market and now it's taken too long, and you're starting to run into some financial obstacles. Your house is needing work. You're frustrated. You've worked with a couple different agents. The home didn't sell, or simply convenience matters and you just don't want the hassle of it. It doesn't matter that much to you whether you put the most amount of money. You're in a good financial position on the house and you can sell it and move on. And I think, or you have an opportunity for an investment. This is one we had recently. You have an opportunity for investment with a small window, so you need somebody that can execute quickly. Those are all reasons why people come to us and want cash offers from us. Again, at DuncanDuo.com. And another common one that I think matters, the reason why we will win some cash offers over other companies, there are large, enormous institutions that buy homes. There are also wholesalers, of which we are not. Our goal is to give you a legitimate cash offer and close on your property, okay? And that is, our goal. There are other investors out there who want to lock up your property and then sell your property to somebody else before closing and transfer your contract. They want to assign your contract to somebody and make a small fee. That is not the game that we play. When we make an offer on a property, we're showing you that we're not doing that. We're giving you a cash offer that we intend on closing on. We plan to renovate the home and resell it and make a profit. Okay, capitalism 101. However, we can be very flexible, and that's where we differentiate. So if you're getting a cash offer from someone, you want to know if it's a wholesaler or a legit end user buyer. If it's a wholesaler, there's a really good chance that deal doesn't close, that they ask for extensions, that they don't really have the money to buy your house. They simply want to lock it up so that they can try and shop it to other investors and make a small fee and move on, and then that person would close. So you're going to get delayed. The convenience isn't going to be what you think. You're going to jump through a bunch of hoops, okay? So you can look me up. I got the money to buy the house. The fund has the money to buy your house, okay? Like, there are a lot of people showing up and soliciting that you get an offer from that may offer you something that looks really good, and they're going to renegotiate on you. They locked your house up with some fantasy land offer only to come back to you and say, hey, I need you to lower it. Or I need more time so I can find a buyer, because they don't ever intend on closing on your house. That's not how we operate. Another thing that makes our cash offer unique is we can be more flexible, meaning that if you need a fast closing date, we can accommodate. If you need to stay in the home after closing, we can accommodate. If there's creative things, we can accommodate. We can work through challenges of negotiating liens. There's a lot of different things that we can do that some of the larger funds that are more what I call, kind of vanilla cookie cutter, mass marketed home buyers that they just want to turn and burn. Their goal is anything that's creative, or they won't let you post occupy the home. They won't let you stay in it after closing. They want you out by this date. Very corporate, rigid, structured, and that money is likely going to fund a hedge fund in Wall Street. That is not what we do. We are a local fund that buys homes with money back into the local community, not supported by Wall Street. I'm not bringing you an offer or a cash offer from Wall Street or a hedge fund, okay? I'm bringing you a cash offer from a local fund group of investors that intend to renovate the home and keep the money local and improve neighborhoods. And of course, make a profit while doing so, which we disclose when we give you an offer. So if you're someone that's looked at a cash offer from someone else, you reach out to us. We can give you a second opinion. We can tell you, the pros and cons of the one that you have. We can look at informing you whether it's a wholesale offer or not. And we can look at, how flexible they are or are not. There's also a lot of confusing information that goes on with some of the cash offer companies. We like to give a really quick, clean, easy offer, not loaded with a bunch of fees. So when we come to you with an offer, we're going to say, here's our offer. Okay. We're going to cut to the chase. We're not going to be charging you fees. Look, this is our offer. Okay. This is what the closing costs look like. There are a lot of companies that will make you an offer and then they'll sneak in, and there's an 8% selling fee. Or here's our offer, but we're giving this offer to you without ever seeing your house. Okay. So then what are they going to do? You're going to get excited and you're going to say, man, I got the $200,000 offer for my house. Yeah. And then they're going to come out to your house and they're going to renegotiate that $200,000 down lower. And then you're going to realize that it's not really $200,000 because when you add up all the fees, it's probably about $180,000. So you got to do math, right? If you're looking at cash offers, do the math. Don't just take the purchase price. That's the ego number. That's the number you get to tell your friends at happy hour. I sold my house for $200,000. Okay, but you didn't really. Okay, so make sure that you're comparing apples to apples. If you're not comparing apples to apples, you're misunderstanding the math, and you might think, I'm getting $200,000, but you're putting less money in your pocket than the straightforward cash offer that isn't loaded with a bunch of fees. So those are things that we do to get creative. And I think on that same token, the comparing apples to apples is very, very, very much important in the mortgage space. We've had Melissa Rodriguez with Citywide Tampa on our show, citywidetampa.com. They are our preferred mortgage lender. If you're looking to purchase, if you want a local lender that will be competitive on rates and fees, where you can put a face with a name, you can talk to a lender. You're not doing everything online. Of course, they can do everything online, but you get a human interaction piece. Has all the programs available. Again, citywidetampa.com. And we see this all the time in mortgages where a buyer will come in and say, this company's giving me this rate and it looks great, or this payment and it looks great because this company was giving me a much higher rate. Okay. But then they don't realize they're paying all kinds of origination fees, or their payment looks really good because the lender from, New York or Detroit or wherever the online farm is of telemarketers they have calling people from doesn't know what taxes and insurance are like in Florida because they're used to doing loans all over the country, and taxes and insurance aren't the same everywhere in the country. So they put taxes and insurance on your good faith estimate. And you look at it, you think they've got the lowest payment out of all the people when their principal and interest payment's the highest. Get a second opinion. It's financial brain surgery. Buying a house, one of the most expensive things, if not the most expensive thing you're ever going to buy. Get a second opinion, and my recommendation is citywidetampa.com, because they can look at Melissa, Oscar, Morgan, our team can look at and tell you the pros and cons of what you've got, and then help you compare apples to oranges. There is so much that happens in the mortgage space where we get clients that don't work with our lender and then get frustrated because they find out that the lender lied to them about what their tax and insurance were going to be to try and get them to commit, because they don't control the tax or insurance. Your mortgage company has absolutely nothing to do with what the property taxes or the insurance are going to be. They use an estimate, and they lowball the estimate to make the number look good to trick you to using them, okay? And then when they get through the process getting closer to closing, all of a sudden those numbers go to a higher number and people are upset, okay? Do the homework ahead of time, okay? If you're not sure, get multiple quotes. Call Melissa at Citywide. She'll look at it. She'll tell you it's a good deal or it's not. She'll tell you if we can beat it or not. She'll tell you what they're doing with tax insurance, whether or not it's accurate or not. She'll get you an actual insurance quote, an actual real insurance quote from an insurance agent on the property. She'll go to the property taxes and get the actual real estimate from the county that you're buying the property in. A lot of lenders don't do that. It's a bait and switch. It's a trick. Speaking of mortgages, I talked about the streamlined mortgage before, and I think it's this time of year, there are a lot of people out there struggling. It's been a challenging year for the economy. It's had a lot of ups and downs. If you're someone who is struggling to make payments, or you're you're not in an equity position and rates have come down a good bit, and I think we'll see some more rate relief throughout the end of the year, you can lower your interest rate on your VA or FHA mortgage, even if you don't have equity, even if your credit's gotten worse, even if you may not be employed the same way, okay? Citywidetampa.com, and a lot of times the property doesn't even need to be appraised. All that's going to happen, the bank and the investor, VA and FHA, they already know that they're on the hook for the mortgage at that rate, okay? If you're going to have problems, they don't want to lose the mortgage, so they'll lower the rate to the prevailing rate. It is one of the simplest and easiest refinances out there. People that have VA and FHA mortgages miss out every single day. This is a time of year where you may need a little bit of financial relief. You can, potentially reduce your payment. You can potentially miss a payment because you're depending on how the closing date lines up. But the best way that I can recommend doing that is citywidetampa.com. It's not really going to work for a conventional loan. It's only going to work if you have you can certainly refinance a conventional loan, go through a traditional refinance process if the rate difference makes sense. But the streamline is the way to go for a lot of people who have seen rates drop and are in a higher rate. Again, you can do that at citywidetampa.com. And Melissa and the team, they'll look at it and they may tell you, I literally listened to them the other day on a phone call with a client. I heard him say, like, you need to wait another month or two. They felt like they feel like rates might drop. They could have made a sale. Okay. But this person was in a financial position where they could wait. If you're not in a financial position to wait, and you're going to, then don't wait for that extra potential 1/8 or 1/4 of a point. If you've got a big enough spread and you can lower your payment now, if you can't and miss a payment during the holidays, that could be a game changer for a lot of people that are either working on getting employed, working on getting a raise, working on clearing out some debt. So again, streamline refinance is something that there are a lot of people out there that don't realize it's available to them, and it is one of the least intrusive loan products. You need a second opinion, just hit up citywidetampa.com. Again, that is citywidetampa.com. When we aren't on air, just make sure to follow all of our socials. We've got some cool giveaways that we regularly do with Tampa Bay Lightning tickets as the official real estate agents of the Lightning. You can hit us up at The Duncan Duo. Again, that is at The Duncan Duo. And we are hiring. If you are a real estate agent that's got some listing experience, or you've done a lot of transactions on the buy side and you want to become a listing agent, we are, for the first time ever, looking to hire listing agents from outside of our company. We've always promoted that position from within, but we have such a considerable need because our marketing is working wonderfully. And we need to. We're in growth mode. We believe 26 and 27 are going to be better years, and we're wanting to get ahead of that. So we're creating more leads than we can keep up with. That doesn't mean don't keep calling us. We're solving that. We're fixing it, consumers. But we are looking to add some more agents to our team, and we've got leads and availability for agents to get coached by me personally, to get trained and onboarded and work with sellers from the start. If you're interested in that, just go to jointheduo.com or message us on any one of our social channels and we'll arrange a confidential consultation. We'll be back wrapping up our last segment after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show. So I talked about this before the break. Andrew Duncan with the Duncan Duo team, LPT Realty. we are hiring listing agents. If you're a real estate agent that hasn't ever gotten great at listings or haven't had the right coaching or training, or you see the amount of marketing my company does and you say, hey, man, I want to be focused on doing listings, or you've got some listing experience and you want to be coached how to be a great listing agent. I've had listing agents that have coached up through my company go start their own company, start renovation companies. We've got multiple listing agents now that are partnered with us on our rehab and renovation and flip business. If you're a real estate agent looking to get great at listings, we are looking to add a few more to our team. We've never hired listing agents from the outside. We've always promoted from within, but the time has come where we have promoted the right people from within, and now we need some new energy. So just hit us up at Join the Duo. Share this with your friends and family. If you're a real estate agent and you've looked at my company in the past and you've said, "Oh, I don't want to just work with buyers. I want to be a listing agent," and we had told you in the past we don't do that. Well, that has changed. So you can go to jointheduo.com or message us on any one of our social channels. Again, at Join the Duo. And it is a really good thing because we're growing. We're doing more advertising and marketing, and it's just time for us to find some people from outside that can help grow our listing business and help them become experts at listing homes. And our listing agents, their main purpose, we take most of the things off of the listing agent's plate administratively. We don't They don't have to enter listings on MLS or take photos or pay for things. Like we have staff that does pretty much everything throughout the process. Our listing agent's main responsibility is setting listing appointments, going on listing appointments that are set by our inside sales team, getting great at presenting and listing appointments, negotiating contracts. We have transaction management staff and listing assistant staff that do the majority of the administrative work, a lot of the things that bog real estate agents down. But you're going to be focused on doing dollar productive activities. And if that is you, if that's something you're interested in, again, please hit us up at jointheduo.com. Again, that is jointheduo.com, or message us on any one of our social channels. So again, you're listening to the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show. This is our last segment. I'm excited also to announce that we're starting a program with Realtor.com called Market VIP, something we're rolling out to our team that allows us to grow our business both with sellers and with buyers. So that's something we're rolling out presently, and it is going to be something that's going to give our sellers as well as our agents more opportunities and more at-bats, get our listings in front of more people, help our listings generate buyers, help our agents get more clients through a direct connect program with Realtor.com. So those are all things that we have going on as it relates to growing agents and adding more agents into the company because it's just time for that. And I've hinted at this before, but I'll say it again. I think 26 and 27 are going to be better real estate years. I think all the things are lining up for our real estate market to improve in 26 and 27. But there's still going to be, some drawbacks. There's going to be some obstacles to get through. Some of these new programs aren't going to just simply roll out. They're going to take some time. But pending home sales, the activity that I'm seeing in my business, the number of leads that we're seeing coming through, are giving me some growing confidence that our real estate market is rebounding and heading in a really strong direction. So, and I teased this. I talked about this in the first segment. I talked about the all of the things that are happening with real estate, the 50-year mortgage discussion, the portable mortgage discussion, the Fed rate cuts, the Mamdani election, and how it might move people here. And again, I'm bullish about 26 and 27 being better real estate years. The government shutdown being over. All these things, I think, point towards real estate improving. But it does not happen overnight, okay? Real estate is and I'll repeat it, the slowest moving market in the world, right? It does not move like tech stocks and crypto, okay? You don't see 5 to 10% swings on real estate values overnight, okay? It takes a long time. It is a slow moving process. The election in New York, will it have a positive impact on our real estate market? I believe so, a year or two down the line. People that are moving from New York are going to wait. They're going to see what happens. Politicians, they've learned, we've all learned, politicians make a lot of promises and a lot of it doesn't happen. Okay. So they're going to wait for, a lot of them are going to wait for the inauguration. They're going to wait to see what happens. They're going to wait to see checks and balances. Those things take time. People can't just up and move their families. They got kids in school, the holidays, like all of these things. Of course, do I think over the long term it'll be positive for our market? Yes. Okay, it will. I believe so. But it doesn't happen overnight. Okay. If you're a home seller and you now all of a sudden think that your home is worth a bunch more money because of an election in New York City, I'm sorry, but you are sadly mistaken. It just doesn't work that way. So if you do want the best home value estimate to know everything that's going on in your neighborhood, you want to know, maybe you're the nosy neighbor. You want to know, is our neighbor in foreclosure? What'd they sell their house for? Okay. How long was it on the market? How many homes have sold in our neighborhood? What's the trend for values in our neighborhood? Just go to DuncanDuo.com. Again, that is DuncanDuo.com. You can get all the data going on in your neighborhood at DuncanDuo.com. And we appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you have an awesome rest of your Sunday. See you next weekend.